Then came the second title defense in Tokyo, Japan, against yet another Japanese contender, Shigefumi Fukuyama, scheduled for July 16, 1976. The bout was much sought after by Ghanaians, especially because the nation was still basking in the first title defense and the people needed a source of bliss and continued pride. DK Poison was, without a doubt, that symbol of bliss and pride at the time. Considering that he had made history for Ghana and was going on to a second hurdle, all were eager to see the results of the bout.
Remember that time, Japan is far ahead of us in time. So I remember we were in the office, I took my radio there. It was somewhere around 11, I mean in the morning, later part of the morning till afternoon, when the fight went on. And then 2 blues, 3 blues, Fukuyama went down. And then I think Mr. Accra, my boss there, we all stopped everything and started jubilating.
The annexation of the title and the 2 successful title defenses had placed the interest of the Ghanaian people in DK's journey at an all-time high. This was to lead to a history-making moment which had a negative twist one bout later. This is the Accra Sports Stadium, the venue for that much talked about fight between the then champion DK Poison and his challenger Danny Little Red Lopez. The bout broke an attendance record with over 120,000 fans at the Accra Stadium. The numbers on the night remain among the all-time best attended bouts in history.
In action, of course, against Tony Zale.
Of course, Tony Zale versus Billy Pryor in the Junail Park in Milwaukee, USA in 1940 tops the list with 135,132 fans.
It was a very painful experience for me. It was a shock because DK Poison, having conquered Ruben Olivares, the best in the heavyweight division. And don't forget, featherweight came naturally to the Ghanaian. The average weight of the Ghanaian at the time was 57 kilograms. And that was the average weight of Mexicans also. So you find that a lot of Ghanaian boxers met a lot of Mexican boxers. He has conquered a lot of Mexicans, beating them. So nobody expected Little Red Lopez to beat DK Poison in his hometown at the Accra Sports Stadium. It was packed. But it happened. And I mean, the silence at the stadium at the point where the fight had to be stopped. If you had dropped a needle inside that ring, it would have been heard at Kukwantum.
Quite a number of boxing connoisseurs came from the sub-region, from Nigeria, from Togo, a whole host of people. And DK, I think, wanted to end the fight early. I believe he had some problem or the other, and he didn't want the fight to travel the full 15 rounds or to go very far. And so he thought that he could take out Danny Lopez very early.
I didn't know why that man didn't go down. But later on, I knew what happened. You see, he was dope. But middle after the fight, Saturday to Sunday, it was published in the Mexican papers. They described the type of dope they bought. No. So, yes. I know, but I didn't want to give an excuse.
I don't think anybody believed what happened that day. Elaborate party had been planned at the Riviera. There was a a hotel, a very famous hotel at the beach. Accra was full of life before, you know. We had wonderful nightclubs, and, you know, Riviera was one of them. And a huge party had been planned, very elaborate party. From the stadium, we all had to go to 37, because, you know, that's where our national hero was. I was at 37, and there he was, the man that has brought so much joy to the people of Ghana at the time. The man who was not expected to lose one round, lost all the rounds. There he was seated in a wheelchair.
Hailing from Accra in Ghana, David Poison Toche. Little Red Lopez. 15 rounds of boxing.
The big story of dominance and global relevance had come to an end with that loss. And in a rematch staged in the US, DK Poison lost again to Lopez.
Danny Lopez retains the championship of the world in the 6th round.
Before this loss, however, DK Poison made a gesture which has to date bugged his mind greatly and been reduced to a piece of folklore. According to him, part of his purse of $75,000 for the win against Shigefumi Fukuyama was to be used to perform an important humanitarian duty in his native Ghana, which was undergoing a tough economic downturn. Part of his purse was used to purchase canned mackerel for the people.
Our embassy had this thing, prepare or organize a party for us. You know, we were jubilating or this thing. We had a telex. The one who brought the telex was Kenneth George Slater. He was a candidate. By then he was the leader of the delegation. He was the manager. Let me put it that way. Because as I said, the government managed me that time. So he brought in the telex. He said, okay, the telex, the reads as follows. He said, the government of the day said, okay, due to the city, this thing, dollar, this thing, I should use part of my money to buy mackerel. They said so that
to buy mackerel for the country.
Yeah, so that when they
not
not free, of course, they will pay me city equivalent when I return to them, because there was no foreign exchange at that time.
I see.
And if you are grown up, you made that time was the time when pressure was at your to step down.
I see.
So with this, their plan was that when this mackerel reached Ghana, people think that things want to be. So, what do I have to say? I have nothing to say.
So eventually, so how much was
my price was $75,000.
Okay.
$75,000.
And how much of it was used to buy the mackerel?
They didn't tell me how much they were going to take from the East, but they said, okay, when they said, they told me that this was the government, or they said, this is a telex. So I said, okay, you can go ahead, whatever. So they didn't tell me, I didn't know until I reached Ghana. When we arrived Ghana, Kenneth Sipi Asante, who was the special assistant to this thing,
the slip, yeah,
called me to the office. He said, I've got something at Barclays Bank, High Street. Barclays Bank were my, how do you call it, bankers. So when I went, they gave me a pay-in slip. Jason Hamilton,
Tokyo.
Use carefully. Then the embassy of Ghana. Then
original amount of $30,000 less their
something. Their book charges and something.
And cable costs $35. Yeah.
Then the original was then. So you see carefully. Say
division of pairs
as agreed upon in Tokyo.
Okay.
Then you ask yourself, agree upon what?
Okay.
This gives you a clue that something took place, something happened.
Okay.
Agree upon what?
Okay. So eventually you picked up 34,201 Ghana cedis, 30
exactly.
pesos.
That's equivalent to 30,000.
Okay.
So if the whole amount was 75,000,
yeah,
and they gave me 30,000, how much left?
45,000.
Something like that.
Unfortunately, Lieutenant Colonel Maxwell Patrick Simpea Sante, who was then a special assistant to the Commissioner for Sport at the time, passed on in February 2017. Coincidentally, Colonel George Slater also passed on in October of the same year. So this transfer slip from the then Barclays Bank and the gentleman's agreement in Tokyo, Japan at the post-event cocktail are the pieces of evidence available.
He shows me certain correspondence, letters that had been written, acknowledging receipt of his complaints and directing him to various people, to address the issue and all that. But by and large, government took the position that there was no evidence because they felt that there was no documentation or agreement from the side of government which explicitly stated that this was the agreement. But they should have known that such an arrangement would not be captured vividly on an official document and all that. It was something done on the side. And there were people involved, those sporting officials and personalities at the time, who later were reluctant to, admit. You talk to them privately and they'll say, well, but we can't admit this. So it made it very difficult. And for me, what made it much more difficult was the issue of limitation, because at a point, if he had received credible legal advice, he would have sued before limitation caught up with him. Now, in law, if you are owed and you want to sue, there's a time frame after which you cannot sue anymore. That is what we call limitation and all that. And so later, government started using that defense. Each time you submitted your petition, they will say, oh, well, we've had a look at it, but we don't think there's any evidence and all that. In any event, it's been so many years and all that. But I came into the picture, and I think that with the fourth Republican government, each time we have put the petitions across to them, the Rawlings, Kufuor, Atta Mills, John Mahama, right up to the current His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And they've all taken the same view. But I think that thankfully this time around, something will be done about it. We've received that assurance. For the avoidance of doubt, he's not even asking for interest to be calculated on that figure from the time it was due up to the date of payment. He's just saying that I want my $46,000. 45, 46. And you see, for me, it's difficult for the man to be singing the same song or telling the same story every time without deviating. It tells you that it is true.
The situation was terrible, especially with the imported goods. Lack of foreign exchange to import these goods. So it was very terrible. So when later on I heard that this was, in fact, I was very sad and worried because it's somebody's money. He went to fight, money that should be paid to him. And through that, he's been able to help to bring in the needed commodities for us to enjoy. And he will come, and then this money has not been given to him. I mean, you did not even reward him for defending the title and winning this thing. But you went to the extent also of depriving him of his income. You see, he has helped us because it was terrible. It was very terrible. I am telling you, my age of, that time I was, at the moment I'm 76. So you remember the year he fought, how it was. It was terrible. You have to queue for this thing. And we heard they got some money. First, I didn't know that it was DK Force's money they used to bring in those goods.
Interestingly, that is not the only case of DK Poison lending money to the state or government officials. There was also the case of his purse from the Commonwealth title bout in Nigeria against Eddie Nduku, which he lost on points. He lent his 4,000 naira purse from the bout, which was paid back later without interest 4 months on. So with this now established, it is clear that DK Poison made a major sacrifice and could have been better off economically. A promise of an estate home from the state also took a while before it was presented to him. The story building situated in Teshinungwa Estates in Accra is where he currently resides with his family. From my interactions with him, this matter weighs on his heart and would like the state to solve it once and for all. I found out that successive governments have made major attempts at solving the problem, but one way or the other, none have yielded fruit.
A couple months ago, we went to the president, and we told the president, and the president is willing to do what we want him to do. And but I think the people are asking DK Poison for papers, and we came back. I'm saying that boxers we don't deal with papers, we deal with blows, So for DK Poison to go and look for papers and bring it, it will be difficult. If we follow the papers, then he cannot get this money. But if the government can say, "Oh, DK Poison have done so much for the nation. What is 45,000? Okay, let us give him 45,000. Let him be happy. Let him know that dying for the country is not just."
DK Poison has had his struggles in life, from his relationships to getting burgled. He could have enjoyed a better life. There were previous reports of burglaries and the loss of property, as well as some family issues. But of course, in the face of all these disappointments, there have been beautiful moments. When the iconic Bukum Boxing Arena was built, his name, together with the 9 others who have won world titles, were placed on the wall. He was also presented with a citation of honor by then President John Dramani Mahama.
Me and DK Poison have a very strong relationship, and DK Poison don't go to people, he don't go to like parties, like invitations, no. Only if I invite him. You see him, when you see DK Poison, mostly if you see DK Poison in some places, then I'm there. And because he loves me so much and I love him so much, and I go to his place sometimes to visit him, and see how he's feeling, and when he's happy, I'm happy, and when he sees me, he's happy, and I make sure that I want him to be happy, so once in a while I'll go and visit him and see how he felt. But DK Poison does very well. He's very strong, he's very strong. Like if you see him, he look like 45 years old.
In the midst of all these, there is great joy in the commemoration of the 45th anniversary of the annexation of the world title.
He really did something for this country. It was a huge tribute and a huge reflection on his sense of mission and his resilience. He lifted this country up very high, revived the fortunes of boxing and sports as a whole. And it's really difficult to really measure it in words. The effect on this country's morale, the effect on the sports administration, and what it did for the nation as a people. it was wonderful, just simply wonderful.
DK Wandaboshi, I appreciate all the sympathy that most folks, when they hear about this, the good way they have for DK Poison. Even last year when I launched the book and he showed up, folks were surprised that he was in such great health, that he was around in great health. So we love you.
Somebody who set the marker in the sand or put a line in the sand for us to know that, yes, we can have it. It was no longer the Empire Crown or the Commonwealth title or anything. This was now world. And the first person to give us a taste of that was DK Poison. And I just cannot forget the excitement that if I had a chance to do anything as a hobby, I'll take a piece of leather and sew a boxing glove because I wanted something to relate to DK.
Congratulations on being the first ever Ghanaian world champion in any sporting discipline. We really appreciate that, and we are all happy that he's still around for us to be celebrating. You know, practically all our world champions are around. The only unfortunate exception is our young friend Alfred Kote, who unfortunately passed away.
I'm telling DK that we're all behind him, you know, and we love him. Anytime he calls us, we'll be there for him. May Almighty God bless him and give him a long life, happiness before he goes.
The legend is also blessed with a family who are a great source of joy. They provide a major support system which keeps him hale and hearty.
How's your family doing?
Fine, pretty good. They are doing fine.
Your children?
Children, three beautiful ladies, one handsome grandson.
I see.
Yes.
I see. Almost all of them came after your days as a champion as well.
Yeah, fortunately for me, unfortunately for them, they came after my success, after
the championship days.
Yes, the championship. No, none ever saw me fighting. No.
I see.
I think I finished my career before.
I see.
Growing up, I heard people telling me, hey, your dad was a great champion, your dad was that, your dad was that. And it made me feel good. And aside that, sometimes we saw his name in history book and various history books in Ghana. All right, so in the nutshell, I'm grateful to God that my dad's name has been captured in the history books of Ghana.
All said and done, one thing remains. The current government, led by President Akufo-Addo, has made what looks like a final commitment to seeing the end of this matter. It is, however, yet to be redeemed. Many media houses have treated this matter from various angles, from straight stories to features and short interviews.
It's only $45,000. Nobody's even asking for interest since 1976. And what hurts me about this whole thing is the man needs the money, his health needs. And then even when it rains, just to be able to maintain his structure, when it rains, his place floods up. And it's known to the ministry, because they even mentioned it, that they know of his challenges and all that. This is money due him, and there's proper documentation. Why wouldn't it be taken care of? It's not encouraging for our sportsmen to then talk to them about patriotism, you know.
They should find somewhere so that his name goes on written there for other people to come and see. When you mention Carnation Sports, they say Aduma Sports Stadium, this thing stadium, Baba Yara Sports Stadium, and all these things. These are some of the things. So he should have the patience, and maybe as we are talking now, Ghana is hearing, the president is hearing, those who are concerned are also hearing. So that the celebration, he should consult, and people like you who are there to make it wide, so that he will be remembered.
I don't know why I have this feeling that President Nana Addo is going to pay this money. Not just because of the fact that he himself is a great boxing fan, but also because of the fact that he is somebody who is willing to set things right, and he would like to get this done with. The guy is in his old age. You want us to build a statue for him when he's gone? And this is not something you want to give him because you think he deserves it. This is something we owe him. And if everything shows that we owe him that money, let us give it to him.
Dad told me that every single head of state previously have tried to do something. They gave listening ear to him, and everything that he asked them, they tried to do it. So at this point, I'm grateful to all of them, all the presidents and all the head of states that we have had so far, that they took upon themselves to do something about my daddy's money. They have been trying, and I believe that this time our current president is going to put a seal of whatever the previous head of states have started, and he will bring it to the end. This is my belief.
At this point in time, if the government in power has decided that they will do it based on humanitarian gesture, I think it's a good idea. If they don't do it, or they are unable to do it, the next NDC government, I think that will also proceed from wherever this government has taken the issue to, and then we shall see what to do.
I believe in destiny, and I know there's time for everything. Boxing is my destiny, and maybe this goes with the boxing.
I see.
This goes with the destiny.
I see.
If it's my destiny to enjoy this moment before I go, I will definitely enjoy it I will have it before I go.
It has become necessary to tell this story to re-echo the fact that a portion of our history as a nation must be rectified. The impressive bit of this whole episode is that DK Poison has hardly expressed any bitterness towards anyone in the bid to recover the amount. This is laudable, especially considering that the narrative is different in other stories where promises by the state have not been honored. Nathaniel Atto for Joy Sports and Joy News.
Baba